Okay, you're not gonna believe this. I know how this sounds, but I finished my video. I had everything completed, and I was on my way to class to turn it in. Rounding the corner outside, just a block away, and the sky goes dark. Right, the sun itself is overshadowed by the giant silhouette of a great Mastiff Dane dog, and he swoops down from the heavens, right? He grabs my video file, he grabs the MP4, and he grabs the raw footage that I had compiled, and he grabs the research that I was supposed to do, and he just tears it to shreds, just demolishes every ounce of work that I definitely put in for the video that I planned on doing. And that's why I didn't make it. In all seriousness, not really doing that great this time around. Got quite a bit going on that I don't really need to delve into, but as a result, I did not finish yet another actual project that I planned for this month. I don't know. It is kind of on brand for me. Like, I did well in school, but it was always absolute last minute for everything I was completing. I was writing essays at 3 in the morning the night before they were due, or completing a project as I'm like sitting in the class period before it, you know, the type. But it's hard for me to talk and think at the same time. I need to get better at that. What did I want to talk about? I need bullet points. I think I can forgo a script if I have bullet points. So, yeah, we might be fucked. I don't know. It's not, obviously this is not the type of video that I wanted to make. It's not the kind of thing that I think is indicative of the care and the, you know, the planning, the professionalism that I want to put into something that I put out. But at the same time, you know, with life happening simultaneously, I was pushing creative stuff further and further against the deadline. And I don't know, at some point you kind of realize, well, I can't do the big project that I was planning. And maybe I can do something small, like a skit of some sort. And then I kept pushing up against that deadline more and more, just kind of, you know, setting the creative process on the back burner while I worried about, or tried not to worry about, other things going on. And I don't know, part of me, because this is like the third time maybe that I have done this sort of video where I'm more or less apologizing for not doing what I wanted to do, not doing what I planned to do, and that, you know, sucks. Like I said, it's not, you know, the type of content that I want to create. It's not really fulfilling any sort of creative need, and I don't think it's got a ton of value for somebody watching, which I try to, you know, that's an intention of mine. But at the same time, it's like, you know, part of me wants to have put out nothing at all, to just say, okay, I'll make the thing when I'm ready to make the thing. But for me, I know how that goes. If I don't have a deadline, if I don't have some sort of structure, then it just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and I don't get anything done. And I think part of why I, did well in a school environment is because there is that level of accountability to it. It's got a structure to where someone else says, here's your tasks, here's the information you have to learn, here's what I'm expecting of you. And part of that too is like, I'm not a fan of disappointing people or letting people down, which has, plenty of pros and plenty of cons. But as an incentivizing structure, whether good or bad, it gets things done for me. And when I am outside of that environment, when I don't have that structure, and the only one I am accountable towards is myself, it's a lot harder to get things done. And I don't know, I think it's possible to kind of fabricate that, to kind of, set myself up in such a way that I am accountable towards myself. And part of that too, like, part of my reasoning for having a requirement for myself of one video a month is because it does, at least hold me accountable to an audience of sorts. And, at the time of recording this, I have maybe like 200 followers on the channel, and like maybe like I can expect about 20 views on a video, which isn't much, but it's still, real people out there. And a lot of that is like close friends and family, and that's awesome. But I feel like there's only so many times that I can say, sorry, I didn't do it. Didn't finish the thing. Didn't bring you anything more than rambling about why I didn't finish the thing. And I think that kind of gets old at some point. I think there's, only so many people that will keep coming back to this sort of apology type video, which is, fair and good. And it's also, I think that in and of itself is a bit of a motivator for me to say, okay, I can't keep getting into the same trap. I can't keep letting myself off the hook, so to speak. But the bigger part of that too, why I'm posting another thing, why I'm making this video itself, even though it's not, what I would call not, almost like not worthy of the channel, not worthy of the, the vision that I have for myself and my creative projects. If I don't, at least hold myself accountable in that way, I don't think the big projects will come. I don't think I manage to create the things that actually matter if I don't show up when I fail to do those things. And it's not like, I wouldn't say that obviously, like, there's not great stakes here. But it's still not like an easy thing to say, to sit down and say, yeah, I fucked up. I don't know. And part of me too, like, I wanted to, because my thought process, the closer I get to the deadline, bounces between put out nothing at all and put out something that I know is kind of shit. And, you go back and forth, and the tighter that the timeline gets, the shittier that the shit option seems. And so it becomes really promising, really appetizing. What's the word I'm looking for? You know what I mean. Really desirable to do the nothing at all. And I don't know, I was kind of beating myself up about it a little bit. And I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, like even if it's 24 hours, right now it's the 26th that I'm filming this, so I got about 4 days to churn something out. But I know at the end of the day that even if I'm filming on the very last day, I can record me saying some words and upload it, and it's more than nothing. I'm going to lose my train of thought a lot. I'm not used to this type of discussion with only myself. But I had done that in the past too, like before I started filming my first big video. I did a series of vlogs that I didn't upload or anything. They were just kind of practice for me to get better at talking to the camera, and also as a multi-purpose service, kind of like a diary journal type of thing. Just a way to get my thoughts out there, focus on them more, yada yada. But it kind of became the sort of thing where I think I got maybe 10 days in, and I just felt like I had reached an end with it, like a logical conclusion, because I was not, I had gotten comfortable enough speaking to the camera, but on the flip side with the journaling, I wasn't doing anything important. I was just kind of blabbing to fill time, really. And I feel like I can only, spin my wheels for so long before I need something new, something better, some level of progress. And I'm also, what doesn't help is I'm also very learning averse, having come out of school. Like, it takes, for whatever reason, it just takes an immense amount of energy for me to want to learn something new, learn a new skill. I like the idea of learning a new skill, learning a new technology, acquiring something new, but the actual doing is just so grating and just so big of a wall that I keep trying to push back against, but usually the wall wins. And I don't think that's, I think there's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot that I've explored and I'm working on and I'm getting better with, but yeah, there goes that one. We're just gonna pretend that this was a coherent, that there's some coherent through line with this video, and that I'm not, again, just kind of rambling. Yeah, what else did I want to say? This is how I tell stories too. I have the idea, or like the recollection of an experience in my head, and then I cannot for the life of me conclude a thought or a narrative. It's usually, I tell the punchline, or the maybe even just the rising action, and then I realize in that moment that I don't have a way to wrap it up, so I'll just say, yep, that's all I got, or that's my story. I don't know. There's a lot still that I want to work on, having felt like I made a lot of progress this year and the past year in just, growing as a person, kind of becoming the idealized version of myself, or, at least moving in that direction, because I wouldn't say that there's an end point. But in that vein, I've also, before this video, this past 2 months maybe, have kind of been in that bad spot. And I was talking to a good friend of mine over lunch and, you know, kind of recounting a bit of my struggles. And he says, you know, so is this like new stuff for you, or is this kind of what we had talked about in the past? And I kind of have to bite my lip and not, you know, say, you piece of shit, because he's right. It is, you know, not to say that I was complaining, but the stuff that I was, you know, verbal about struggling with has been stuff that I've been struggling with for a while, and has, you know, I would say situations that I'm aware of, but also not anything that I'm making real changes towards or real progress in. And I don't, you know, that's kind of scary to have that level of awareness, but that unwillingness to do anything about it. You know, because there's plenty of people that I know that are much older than me, and they're still, you know, for years they've been telling me the exact same problems, and for years I've been trying to get them to change the way, because you really have to, in a lot of cases, change the way that you are, change the way that you approach situations, change the things that you tell yourself about the person you are and the way that you do things. And I think, too, the value that you have. Because if you don't, not that it's easy, but if you don't value yourself as an individual and as, you know, kind of the center of your own universe, then you're not... It's just so difficult to believe that you can affect change in your life when you don't have that very base self-interest in mind, where you don't value your experience, not necessarily even more than you know, not even to put yourself above everyone else, but just to have some level of self-respect and self-interest. It's just really hard to grow. And I do, you know, I think that's something that I've made a lot of progress in, and something that, you know, is not always present, but when it's not, and it's hard to notice when it's not present, but you know, because I think too, like, the more that you're struggling, the less you're taking care of yourself, the less time you're going to spend being introspective and analyzing, you know, from an external standpoint, what is going wrong and what you need to do about it. Yeah, that's the end of that thought. Oh, gosh. I'm going to trim this down, but I imagine, you know, just from experiencing this, I imagine that it's going to be not necessarily coherent, but at the same time, I did not write a script, and I have 3 days, so this is what I've got. Yeah. I also, the backpack I put on as a, you know, a bit for the dog thing, and I plan to take it off, but I'm realizing that I'm still wearing a backpack. It's fine. It's fine. I don't know. I do think, you know, having said that, I don't necessarily value this form of expression. I do think that there's, you know, a skill there that I'm lacking, that I'm not as able as I would like to be in articulating my thoughts. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about this video and other iterations of this video, and having a pretty decent pathway in my head, like knew the talking points I wanted, knew the ways that I wanted to say some things, and then a lot of that just kind of goes out the window when I'm actually just hitting record on the camera. And so bullet points would be great, but just, I think getting more practice with this would also be good. I may change the way that this is cut just for a little more logical consistency for an audience. But one of the alternatives for this video was going to be, you know, more of a mopey version of what I'm doing right now. And I planned to, framing wise, I plan to be laying in bed recounting my struggles, kind of in the style of this one from Nakey Jakey, or this part from what's it called, Inside by Bo Burnham. I'm sure you guys know that one, and if you don't, go watch it, and then watch the Nakey Jakey one first because it's older. Yeah, but in that, in the planning of that mopier version of this, the kind of internal pushback is that, you know, I could frame this in such a way that I think leans more heavily on what I'm struggling with and what I'm going through, and I think there's some value in that, but at the same time, you know, I don't want to like I don't want to make it seem as though I'm not doing well on the whole, because like there's a lot that's going fine for me, right? Like I am financially stable. I've got a good support system of friends and family. You know, my job is secure, I would say. Not worried about shelter or food or, you know, having somebody to talk to. It's just kind of the self-actualization that I'm struggling with. And I reference, not on here, but in personal relationships and in my own head, I reference the Maslow's hierarchy of needs that I half remember from psychology class a decade ago. Maybe I have mentioned this because I feel like I thought about this in relation to a video. But you know, you have this pyramid, like the food pyramid that was made up, apparently, of just the tiers of the needs of an individual. And I think my key takeaway, and maybe the point of the pyramid structure itself, is just to point out, you know, that there are so many distinct needs that a person has, and that I think the greatest precedence goes towards the lower level. You know, you got to take it like a ladder. You have to fulfill your most basic human needs before you can get to, you know, not the things that matter less, but the things that can be on the back burner and you're not gonna expire. You know, if I don't eat food and drink water, I will die. If I don't have if I secure those needs, I need shelter. That's great. And I'll link it here, and maybe I'll place it here. And I'll do maybe like an edit of having learn more about this, because I think about it a lot and I just don't remember much of it. And that's I would like to be on some level a steward of information, and I don't have the information in my head anymore. And that's another thing that I wanted to kind of mope about, is that I just, in a lot of ways, the further I get from being in school, I just feel like I'm losing a lot of my brain power, a lot of the attention to detail and the ability to problem solve and discern and focus on things. And that is kind of, I think that's just kind of how the brain goes. The whole idea of use it or lose it, and the pruning of synapses. And, you know, your body in a lot of ways is an efficiency machine. And there's a train going on, so we might pause for that, because I live right by the train. Yeah. So your body, you know, not that I am an expert in biology or neurochemistry or other words, but you know, I think the natural state is to move towards stasis. The less energy you can expend, the better. And so, not the better in terms of, you know, self-actualization, but the better in terms of just resource allocation. And so if my brain feels like it doesn't need the complex pathways to do long division and spell words right, it's gonna say we're dropping those. And there's an argument of that's okay, because I'm living in the world just fine, and I can, you know, at least meet my lower level needs just sitting and rotting. But that's not, I am of the mind that I get one shot at this, and I don't want to sit and rot any longer than I already have. That's just kind of a bummer. And I think the biggest, you know, the biggest lesson in all of that is that I just have not really been challenging myself lately. I've not been, you know, testing my limits in the ways that matter to me. You know, when I feel bad, I numb that pain with, not even pain, I numb the inconvenience with, you know, fast access to immediate gratification with tasty food and YouTube videos. And when I'm really down in the dumps, the YouTube reels, the, you know, second-hand TikToks that will just absorb every ounce of your brain. What? Yeah. And so, what do I do from here? I don't know. In the planning of this, you know, I made the point about there only being so many times that I can do this sort of thing before I lose the credibility of it, before it ceases to be something that I think is worth my time, and before the same happens for an audience. And I think I can either, you know, turn the off switch on the YouTube channel, or I can turn the camera on and do what I can and try to push myself. Because I would like to say, you know, that this is the last time that I am going to put out what I would call like low effort content. I just don't, I don't necessarily believe that, and I think it's great to have rules for myself and structure, but I think if I have ultimatums, then that's not going to necessarily produce the outcome I want either. I think that's just going to increase, you know, the self-imposed pressure and cause me to burn out rather than, you know, what's the opposite of burnout? Burn on, burn in. We're gonna burn in this year. We're gonna challenge ourselves, me and you, because you gotta do the same. Yeah. All I can say a lot, clearly, but what I want to say is that I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm gonna push back against the headaches and push back against the voices that say that it's okay to forego the work I want to do for a little more comfort, because I have plenty of comfort in my life right now, and what I don't have is very much passion for the work that I want to do. I have the underlying passion perhaps, but not the drive, and I don't think the drive is inherent or external. I think I gotta just work on it. And so I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna bring another video to you in a month from now, and I'm gonna try my best to make it the type of thing that I've been planning for, the type of interesting and structured and self-fulfilling content that is, you know, why I'm here in the first place. And so, thank you for being here. If you're here, I hope you stick around, because I'm sticking around, and we'll see how it goes. I think I'm going to reshoot the dog bit, because that's the only thing that had some level of structure, as stupid as it is. But I feel like I got to have some sort of decent hook to make this not feel like a complete waste of time. Here we go. Swear to God, walking on my way to deliver it, to turn it in, the sun itself blotted out, just a giant silhouette, and just the sky goes dark. Descends from the heavens, right? And he flies down, a great Pyrenees Dane mountain shepherd, 500 pounds, Clifford the big red dog, spirals through the air like a football. Raw footage that I compiled grabs the research that I was supposed to do, demolishes it, just tears it to shreds, grabs the little pieces. Swear to God. And that's why that's why we're here. That's why I didn't turn in like a real video this time.